I think we're just about ready to start. Not sure. I don't think I'm expecting anybody else, so we may as well get started. Can everybody see my screen? Has my screen share come through okay?
Yep, looks good.
Ex
Yes, thank you.
Excellent, good stuff. Just so I could just get a little bit of a feel for who we are. Who's actually a franchisor? Who's or works for a franchisor here? So Nina, and who's a supplier or a consultant? Oh, Jason, you're a franchisor?
Yeah, with Baker's Delight.
Baker's Delight, that's right. Yeah, excellent. And supplier consultant, like me? Is that Danny? Is that you as well?
No,
No?
I mean I was in franchising for about 14 years, and then I jumped out of that into a CEO position, and recently in a managing director position. So currently, I just finished a 12-month contract as an MD for a company. It was outside of franchising at the time, but yeah, just thought it'd be good to jump in and see
To
what you've got.
Excellent. Well, welcome to all of you anyway. That's fantastic. I guess we're all here for one thing, and that is we'd just like to see more success in franchising, and that's really, what it's all about. So, more just how damn hard it can be sometimes. So, let's have a look at that. So, I'll introduce myself. I'm Jan Timms. I'm the author of the best-selling book, The Ultimate Franchising Success Formula, and I'm founder of Get Smart Services and the Get Smart Learning Academy. And I consider myself to be really fortunate because for the past 25 years or so, I've had the opportunity to work with some really iconic franchise brands. And you know how some franchise brands get a little bit stuck. They hit a little bit of a plateau at certain points. Well, what I do is I help with that. I help them to either directly or sometimes through suppliers to implement systems to recruit and develop and replicate high caliber franchisee partners to significantly grow their number of successful franchisees and eliminate that resource drain that's caused by the struggling low performers. And I've got systems that I use to achieve that. But just before I get into that, I thought I'd share a little bit about my journey into franchising with you. So I started out with Snap Franchising Limited about 25 years ago as their international manager for people development. And I very quickly learned that franchising is challenging. It wasn't like the corporate world that I came from. And you can't just tell franchisees what to do and expect them to do it. But the simple fact is that if we can't get franchisee buy-in and action and results from the programs and initiatives that we want to implement, it's going to slow us down. It's going to hold back success. It's as simple as that. So the number one critical success factor in franchising is the franchisor's ability to develop and replicate thriving, wealthy, successful franchisee partners. That's what franchising is all about, developing successful franchisees. And that's what drives our economic engine. And that's what needs to be the litmus test for all of our strategies and our decision making. And I'm really so passionate about this that I actually embarked on a PhD research study into franchising success factors. And the evidence or the model that came out of that is held in really quite high esteem in academic circles. Had several academic journal articles published, even a chapter in an academic textbook. In fact, I was actually invited to present the various stages of my findings at the International Society of Franchising conference on 3 consecutive years, which was fantastic fun because it was in 3 different continents, so I got to see some bits of the world that was really quite good as well. But anyway, I decided that the model was too valuable to just stay buried in academia. So that was why I decided to write the book and develop the Get Smart Learning Academy so that I could use the model to work with my clients and help them achieve the improvements that they wanted. And there's nothing more rewarding. I find it so rewarding to work with clients and help them to significantly grow their number of successful franchisees through implementing the systems. But equally, it's so frustrating when you see perfectly capable, enthusiastic, eager franchisors hit a plateau, or sometimes even fail, when I know there's a system there that can help to prevent that. This is really powerful stuff. It is a formula for success in franchising that I wish I had when I started out 25 years ago. That's why I wrote the book. That's why I established the Get Smart Learning Academy, because I just want to get this powerful model for success in franchising out there, and help significantly grow successful franchisees numbers. But to do that, the first thing that we've got to do is to lay the foundations. So let's just get into how we would go about doing that. And to do that, we use what I call VPAC, which is our vision, priorities, and actions and controls. Who's actually read Jim Collins's Good to Great? I'm sure that's something that many of us have come across. Jim Collins reveals that the truly great companies founded their business strategy and the decision making on three clear dimensions: what they can be best in the world at, what drives their economic engine, and what they can be deeply passionate about. And the intersection of those dimensions becomes their unifying vision, and their unifying vision is what they use to guide everything that they do. And it can take a lot of effort and collaboration and brainstorming and whatnot to come up with the right unifying vision. But in franchising, I just think it's pretty straightforward. In franchising, what we need to become best in the world at is developing and recruiting, developing, and replicating thriving, wealthy, successful franchisee partners. I'll give you an example. Anytime Fitness, that really, one of the big successful franchise brands. Just have a look at how franchisee success centric, not only their mission, but also their vision, how it's about enriching the health, wealth, and well-being of franchisees, as well as, of course, their consumers, employees. And their vision of financial success for franchisees is heavily ingrained in that. So that's the kind of unifying vision that we need to be looking into. And I don't care what we call it. Some people might call it a purpose, or is it a mission? Is it a vision? Is it our core values? But basically, those guiding principles that we use to decide what our strategies should be, and to make our decisions. So I've got a little activity in your workbooks there. I want you to have a think about how franchisee success centric your vision, your guiding principles are. And if they don't quite fit the case, then have a go at reworking it, and just seeing what you could do to get those guiding principles in place, because it really is very important. You're deciding to do something, and it's the question that you ask yourself: is this going to help franchisees become more successful? If it's not, then maybe we need to start questioning why we're doing it. Is it important? Should it be up there? And it's useful to help set those priorities. So moving on to then our priorities and actions, which are the next two elements of foundation. I've actually got a system that I've developed over the years with my clients that makes this part of it really easy. It involves, first of all, completing a priority setting questionnaire, which is fairly in-depth. It's open and closed questions. It takes about half an hour to complete, to answer the questions thoughtfully, even though it says on the beginning of the questionnaire that it's only 7 minutes. That's not true, because that's just going click, click, click. So once you've done that, then I analyze and prepare for a 60-minute digging deeper session where we talk about what you've put in the questionnaire. And clients have said to me they just find the process really helpful in clarifying what's happening, and just putting some time into some quality thinking like that can always be very, very useful. So we dig deeper into the nitty gritty, and then I go away and I prepare an action plan and report for you, which becomes your personal roadmap for implementation. So that's the way of actually establishing that. So that leaves us then with the final component, which have you ever wondered why so many franchise brands actually do stall after reaching 20 or 30 or even 40 locations? It just seems to be, something that we get stuck at a certain level. There's a few facts for you here. First of all, 46% of Australian and 49% of New Zealand franchisors have less than 20 outlets. So they've started, they've got established, but they just haven't been able to push that next barrier through. In the US, 80% are under 100, and in the UK, the average number of franchisees per franchisor is 52. So, and even the larger brands, they tend to plateau, and some even go into decline at some point between 100 and 200. And it's like, well, why does this happen? What causes the plateau? And that actually was the research question for phase 2 of my research. It was like, go out and find out why these plateaus that are occurring, what's actually causing them. And that involved me interviewing, I was going to say hundreds, 157, if I need to be very precise about that, of interviews with people within the franchise sector. It involved a lot of franchisor employees. It involved franchisees, some customers, some suppliers, a couple of organisational psychologists, and the Franchise Council of Australia at the time were quite heavily involved in that as well. And what we came up with was we identified 12 widespread common issues that seem to lurk around in franchise systems, and they're holding back success. And in my book, I call the widespread common issues silent killers, because it sounds a lot sexier than widespread common issues. So that's where the 12 silent killers of franchising actually come from. And it's those silent killers that cause plateaus. And so I've actually got those listed in your workbook for you. It's a bit busy to just put on a slide, but if I move on, so the outstanding difference that I found when I came to stage 3 of my research, which was 6 in-depth case studies with 3 very successful franchise brands, a couple of smaller brands that had plateaued, and one large mature franchise brand that had not only just hit plateau, but that had really gone into quite significant decline. So the differences between those case studies were what we studied for stage 3. And one of the things that was quite interesting was that a difference, an outstanding difference between the successful systems and those in the lower performing range was their ability to identify and control, and to a certain extent prevent those silent killers from actually holding back success and causing harm. So it's quite an important aspect that we learn to recognize them and learn to implement strategies to help prevent them when we do things. So, and it's like example, even the biggest can be stricken. I've got an example, a very famous example here of a franchisor, Blockbuster. Back in the 1990s, Blockbuster holds a very special place in my heart, because I used to take my kids there on the weekend to choose the videos that we were going to watch and everything. And back in the 1990s, they seemed unstoppable. They were a massive, successful brand, and yet within 2 decades, they had collapsed and filed for bankruptcy. So what went wrong there? And don't say Blockbuster. Don't say Netflix, sorry. Don't say Netflix was what went wrong. Yeah, sure. Netflix actually entered the market in 1997, but they offered to sell out to Blockbuster for only 50 million in 2000, and Blockbuster said no. Nah, it'll never take on. This cloud stuff, people don't want that. They want to come into stores and choose their videos. And so they declined that offer, and that's regarded these days as one of the biggest strategic mistakes made ever, not just in franchising, but in business in general. So I've got a quick little exercise for you. It's only a couple of minutes, but the silent killers are listed there in your workbook. And I've got a little fable that I have written with the help of ChatGPT, because I'm not that talented, but a little fable that tells the blockbuster story. And I just want you to see whether you're able to identify silent killers. And if you recognize one, you can pop it into chat. But we'll have a talk about it afterwards. So I'll just play the fable. Here we go. Spot the silent killers.
Once upon a time in a land of screens lived a kingdom of movies, bright and serene. Blockbuster stood mighty and tall, a franchise empire ruling them all. Families gathered night after night, browsing the shelves in the neon light. Laughter, debates, which film should we choose? A ritual of joy with nothing to lose. But deep in the castle, the rulers grew blind, ignoring the winds, the shifts in the times. They clung to old ways, dismissing the threat, while whispers of change spread through the net. A young upstart, nimble and keen, brought movies to homes, no store to be seen. Netflix was rising, swift in its pace, while Blockbuster sat in its towering place. A lesson for franchisors, both new and old. A kingdom can fall if its vision turns cold. Ignore the market, you're bound to decay. Resist innovation, you'll fade away. For franchisors to survive and thrive, they must adapt, evolve, and stay alive. The tale of Blockbuster etched in time, a warning wrapped in a fable's rhyme.
Okay, I just discovered something then about Zoom. You can't look at chat while you're playing a video because it stops the video. So pass that little lesson on as well. There we go. So I was just going to see, I noticed there was a couple of numbers there. Okay. Yes, Abby is here and I hadn't seen you. So welcome, Abby. Number 2, no appetite for knowledge exploration. Absolutely, Nina. That is very, very true. They just didn't quite, they just thought they knew it all. I'd say resting on the laurels of their past is one as well. Like they just thought that they were unstoppable. So why would they need to go look for new ways of doing things? So that's also that. So I find I've listed 6 here just to so that vision, not having the right vision, they're not clearly not looking to future focus franchisee success. That their internal expertise, legacy thinking. So this is how those silent killers actually play out in a real life situation. So it provides us a lesson that we can most certainly learn from. And I've got loads of activities to help us gain expertise in and spotting the silent killers, and even a simulation game where you can make decisions and play around with strategy. That is part of the Get Smart Learning Academy. But it's important that we do learn to identify them and control them and prevent them. So once we've got the solid foundation in place, we're ready to start the process of growing successful franchisees that we support. So let's have a look at how we do that. And I'm going to share with you a real life case study story just to illustrate how one of my clients did that, because I think that's better than me just telling you what the formula is. It's this, it's that, you do this, you need to do that. So I hope this brings it to life a little bit better for you. So Pack and Send, they're a subsidiary of MBE Global. They've got over 170 franchise outlets in Australia, New Zealand, and also in the UK. And back in 2022, they faced a significant challenge, and that was inconsistency with the business-to-business sales performance of their franchisees. So many of them were reactive at serving customers, but just not following up on the leads that were generated. Their lead conversion rates were down at only 11%, and there was a bit of a reluctance to and lack of confidence in engaging in proactive selling. And they also had difficulty in articulating just how pack and send services can actually help solve problems for customers. And what the bottom line was, and not, I mean, these statistics don't only exist within pack and send, they exist within many franchise groups, but 80% of the sales is coming from their top 20% of performers. And so they wanted to significantly increase that. They wanted to have far more successful franchisees performing at that higher level, because clearly that's that's a way to grow very successfully. So they had heard about my 5 Magic F system to significantly increase successful franchisee numbers, because that's kind of my catchphrase. And so they asked me to work my magic for them and help develop and implement a program to fix this issue. So I'm not quite sure what they expected me to do. Maybe wave my magic wand and conjure up successful franchisees from the sky. Franchise goddess of the stars, find fuel and foster fly fast and conjure up success at last with wisdom bright and vision clear. Successful franchisees shall suddenly appear. Well, we tried that, didn't work. So I took them into working a little bit harder than that, and we developed a program that was based around the 5 Magic F system. So I'll share that with you. First of all, it involves those little words from the spell there, but we need to find the key to replication. We need to fuel competitive advantage, foster a thriving culture, and provide 5-star franchisee support and fast-track accelerated learning. And with those 5 elements in place, you've basically got success covered. But trying to implement one of those or 2 of those in isolation never, ever ends up with the results that we're looking for. So we'll just quickly go through each of those. So first of all, finding the key to replication. Who's been bitten on the bum because they have made some poor recruitment choices in their time? I know that I have, most certainly. And how much does it actually hurt? How much does it drain resources when that happens? So yeah, and I can see I'm going to borrow from Jim Collins again. We all know this quote, I'm sure, but he says, get the right people on the bus, the wrong people off the bus and in the right seats. Sometimes easier said than done, but I have got an example of a franchise group that I've been working with. They started their success formula journey, probably, I'm saying 12 months for a bit too long. It's probably more like 14 months ago now. And they had, when we started, they had 95 franchisees. And they, over the last 12 months or so, they've actually exited 30 franchisees from their system. Now, that's fairly radical. They've mostly done that by not renewing franchise agreements. They have a fairly short franchise agreement. So, that possibly makes the disclosure issues more straightforward, but they've exited 30. They're now down to 65, but sales are up 20% across the board. And the franchisees that remain in the system, their individual sales are up on an average of 40%. And their franchisee engagement score, which just over 12 months ago was down as low as 36%, now that's up at 86%. So they've gone through this process. They're an example. I've not had anybody else who's done it quite so radically in such a short time. But, there's an example of what a franchise group has managed to achieve, and just by making sure they've got the right people involved. But the key to replication, going back to that, is finding recruitment and development and replication success behaviors. If we can identify what the success behaviors are, then that becomes the framework to guide who we recruit, how we develop people, and also how we replicate the success. So I'm just going to show you how Pack and Send actually, how we went about doing that with Pack and Send, that aspect of the program. And so first of all, we brainstormed with their field support managers to identify the key behavior patterns, which gave us a framework to test. Field support teams tend to know their franchisees pretty well. So we came up with a fairly good framework. We tested that then with mystery shopping, and we mystery shopped the top 20% of performers and the lower 20% of performers. And that really brought out some key behaviors, things that the top performers were doing that the lower performers weren't doing. We had a workshop then with the top performers, and that enabled us to dig deeper into the nitty-gritty of that. Then I had one-on-one interviews, and as a result of that, I was able to put together a replication system that we uncovered the success behaviors that needed to be replicated across the group, basically. So that was put together as a system that we then took to the next stage. So that was how we did that with Pack and Send in the find aspect of this. So I guess a starting point for this is to just visualize your top franchisee performers and what it is that they actually do that the lower performing guys don't do. What are 5 things that that you could potentially identify there? And that's a really good starting point for that. It's like, well, what are these things? And then it evolves out from there. So there's, that's an activity that you might want to embark on. It's great if it's done in a group session, in a workshop session or something like that, because then you've obviously got more people brainstorming and inputting that whole process. But identifying those success behaviors is always the first point there. And, franchise success, it's not just about having people on board. It's actually having the right people. It's all about making sure that we have the right people and helping them to shine even brighter. So I'm going to be very brave here and dare to differ with Jim Collins, because I think in franchising, we need a different metaphor. I'd like to think of the franchisor as more of a mothership, a spaceship, a mothership that's navigating through a galaxy of stars and developing new stars and helping the dull stars to shine really brightly. So I think we should be flying starships and not driving buses. Who would agree with me on that? Who's ready to drive starships instead of fly starships instead of driving buses? Brilliant. Excellent. Because that's what we need to be doing. Thanks, Nina. Let's do it. Okay, moving on. Our next F is fueling competitive advantage. And a lot of franchisors do struggle to keep their operations manuals current and relevant and useful. And some have risen to the challenge well of creating a living, breathing knowledge hub that becomes the go-to place for absolutely everything. And that's fantastic when they've done that. And it really is the go-to place for absolutely everything, because that's where we all need to be. That's definitely where we all need to be. But here's a quote from the literature review in my thesis that is actually paraphrased from 8 major research studies into success in franchising. And they all found that knowledge management is absolutely critical for competitive advantage. In fact, your know-how is the only true competitive advantage that you actually have as a franchisor. And it's not enough to just create an operations manual and job done, right? You've actually got to develop an insatiable appetite for gathering new know-how and refining it so that it can be made accessible and shared and protected in a dynamic living knowledge bank. And to do that, we need a system. Need a system to do that. So I'm going to share another short story with you here to explain that.
I recently spent some time in the goldfields near Kalgoorlie, Western Australia, where I met John, a passionate gold prospector. John, a rugged man wearing a utility belt and boots, eagerly holds up a large gold nugget, grinning. John was thrilled to show me the huge nugget that he'd found. He was careful not to reveal exactly where he'd found it, of course. But John wasn't always this successful. In the beginning, he stumbled across the odd nugget, but often went weeks without finding anything. Then he met some people who were willing to share their knowledge, for a fee, of course. They ran training courses for novice prospectors. They sold highly sensitive and expensive metal detectors, and they developed an app that highlighted gold-rich areas yet to be claimed. And with this new system, John's fortunes changed. He quickly recovered his investment, and now instead of working in the city as an electrician, he spends his days prospecting for gold in the Australian outback. There's a valuable lesson in here, one that applies directly to franchising. We should all just give up franchising and go prospecting for gold instead. Just joking. John armed himself with a system to make gold exploration more efficient. Similarly, franchisors need a system to uncover and refine valuable knowledge within their networks. But here's the best part. Unlike gold, knowledge is an infinite resource. And with the right approach, detecting it should be so much easier and far more rewarding. And that's why I'm sticking with franchising instead of prospecting for gold, because the real treasure is unlocking knowledge and sharing it and turning it into success. So are you ready to start prospecting for the hidden gold in your franchise network?
So, and look, there's a whole section of my book just dedicated to techniques and methods and forums for going about that gathering, refining, and adding and storing and protecting process that goes behind knowledge management. But let's have a look how we applied this with Pack and Send. So I've already explained how we gathered the sales success behaviors. So that was a typical exercise of going out and gathering knowledge. It was then refined. So we analyzed and categorized it into a framework that could then be made accessible by documenting it, by documenting that business to business sales system and toolkit. And then that was shared. So the knowledge needed to be shared through the learning workshops, and also as we got further into the program, success case studies and storytelling. So that process continued, and then protected and making sure that it's kept alive with on-the-job coaching and assessment and sales meetings. And there was even an advanced selling skills workshop that was held 12 months later to reinforce and build on the knowledge gained in the first workshops. So that was really it was really critical as far as protecting, because if you don't use it, you lose it. And that's why we get knowledge leakage. But the other aspect, of course, of protection is documenting it in your knowledge hub as well, so that it doesn't get lost if the person that developed the system or the program leaves, or whatever happens, we get that that loss of knowledge as well. That can be something to protect from. So it's very critical that we avoid that brain drain, that proverbial reinvention of the wheel that seems to happen when people leave, that loss of intellectual property. So we need to protect ourselves from that as well. Yeah, just a real quick tip to share with you to start the process going is to kick off every single meeting with a knowledge sharing moment. Now, Safety do this and been doing it for years with safety shares. And why don't we do the same thing with knowledge sharing? Does anybody here who's learned something new this week that they can share? A question that just kicks off every meeting. You don't have to go around and ask every single person, but if a new piece of knowledge can be brought to the table at every meeting, that's franchise meetings, that's meetings with individual meetings with franchisees, it's your management team, leadership team meetings, departmental meetings. Can you imagine the amount of knowledge that would actually get shared just by that one simple thing? And there's lots of other things that we can do as well. But let's move on now to thinking about fostering a thriving culture. And a lot of franchisors grapple with a certain degree of franchisee disconnect. A bit of mistrust. It's something that disengagement holds back buy-in and action and results. And so we need to eliminate that disengagement by building a thriving culture that's based on the 3 C's. And the 3 C's are our culture itself, the collaboration, and the communication. So let's have a quick whiz through. First of all, the 6 pillars of a thriving culture that we need to be thinking about. And that starts off, I'm going to borrow from Jim Collins one last time. He says that the unifying vision becomes the discipline within the culture, and that we need to be self disciplined people who engage in disciplined thought and take disciplined action. And discipline needs to be behind everything that we do. Otherwise, we just dilute our efforts over and over again. We've got to be mutually supportive, and being mutually supportive is going beyond the obvious and embedding mutual supportiveness into that culture of win-win that makes the entire network shine. Trustworthiness. Who's read Steve Covey's 8th Habit? That's another good book. And Steve Covey actually says that to earn trust, you've got to be trustworthy. To say that we're trying to build trust, you've actually, as a franchisor, got to be trustworthy. And he's talks about the emotional bank account, and he gives examples of 12 trust building credits, and not 12, 10 trust building credits and 10 trust damaging debits. And what I did was I actually translated those into franchising examples in my book, just to kind of help with that process. So the trustworthiness is really important, but then we need to embed learning orientation into our culture, because if you can do that, you found the key to turning those knowledge creation engine cogs. But that won't happen if you haven't got discipline and mutual supportiveness and trust already a part of that. So, and there we've got collaboration, which is one of the 3 C's, very important, that we have collaboration within a network. But a lack of trust leads to knowledge sharing hostility, which prevents collaboration. So trust is absolutely everything in franchising. And then finally, we've got relationship commitment, and franchising is all about commitment to mutually beneficial relationships. And that's reflecting that interdependent nature of franchising and the power balance between the franchisor and the franchisee, without either party having to use coercive power to get what they want. So that interdependence is a real key there. So that's the culture. Now, in order to create a culture like that, we've got to think about the structure, and that's about breaking down the silos, avoiding hierarchy. We need to have a collaborative, organic structure that has got, adaptability and trust that's kind of built into it. So I've got a quote here from Greg Nathan. I'm sure everybody's aware of Greg Nathan. He says that we need to avoid the silos, and he says that departments need to collaborate a lot more closely, and that training should align with operations and should not be aligned with operations. It should be aligned with human resources. And he goes on to say that whenever there has been a disaster in franchising, direct course correlates to departments not working together effectively. So that's something, again, that we need to take on board, that whole collaboration aspect. So communication then is the gravitational attraction that holds your franchise system together. And a lot of barriers to knowledge discovery and transfer are associated with communication issues. And it's much more than just sending and receiving messages. But the goal is collaborative communication. Collaborative communication is what we strive for, but that won't happen in an unhealthy, with a hierarchical structure and unbalanced power and a poor appetite for knowledge. So it's really important that we keep working on all of those cultural aspects as well. And there's a lot of evidence to suggest that we need to match communication strategy with the right cultural conditions. And your cultural conditions are your culture itself, the structure, that franchisee, franchisor power balance, that interdependence, and also them being hungry for knowledge and demonstrating that daily. And so if we manage to do that, if we get the culture right, then our communication strategies, collaborative communication, is going to be very effective. So let's go back to Pack and Send and see how we implemented the 3 C's in their project. So the process of cultural change from reactional to proactive. And 3 years in, they're not there yet, but they're a lot closer than they were. A lot closer than they were. And it's building, so it's improving. So we began that process of cultural change, but things don't change overnight. You've got to keep working at it. The other 2 C's help with that. So the fact that you're demonstrating that you're collaborating helps accelerate the cultural aspect of things. So that process of the franchisor support team and respective franchisee partner collaboration was a very important piece in it, because it wasn't just head office coming in and saying, this is how we want you to do it. It was, this is how your most successful franchisees are doing it. Would you like to learn what they're doing so that you can be successful like them? And it becomes a very different kind of message. And then we had the communication strategy to build enthusiasm and excitement for the program. And that started off at their conference. I did a keynote for them at their annual conference to launch the program. I was there for the entire weekend, which meant great networking and able to talk about it and answer questions and things like that. So that was a good foundational piece in the communication. There was a personal invitation to known early adopters. They know who their early adopters tend to be when they roll out new things. And so the first round was by invitation only. In fact, every round's been by invitation only. They need to convince their field support manager that they're really committed and invested in following all aspects of the program. But that first round was their early adopters, and that was important because we got some good traction and momentum there. And then the communication from the support team about the benefits, and they played a huge part in building excitement for the program. And then the sharing of success stories once everything was beginning to be put into action was really critical too. So who's committed to fostering the 3 C's? Let's have a thumbs up on that one, because it's an important aspect. So we need to be doing that. That's great. Let's move on to 5. So this is about developing 5-star franchisee support. Now, hopefully you're starting to see the picture building up, because while it's 5 magic F's for success in franchising, they don't work in isolation of each other. I think I made that point at the beginning. You can see the overlap between what needs to happen, and that they all kind of complement each other and come together. So it's really a holistic approach. It's not isolated in 5 different silos. We don't believe in silos. I said that earlier. So, that a lot of franchise groups have got an informal kind of ad hoc approach to providing franchisee support. And the really successful brands have a much more formal support system in place that is designed to drive operational excellence and consistent performance and sustainable growth. And that's where we all need to be, of course. So again, all of these things are pretty damn obvious. I thought, well, when I came out with this model, we know all of that. There's nothing new here, but there is, because we're not all doing it. So it's actually coming up with the practical aspects, the how-to aspects behind all of this. That's really important. So if franchisees are going to become shining stars, then your franchisee support team need to be star enablers and helping the franchisees climb up this ladder of success. And it's very, very difficult. It's very, very difficult to get it right. It's probably one of the toughest things in franchising. This is a research study quote from one of the participants, but it's just one of many that were along the same vein, all agreeing that it's just so hard to get it right. And yet the biggest source of complaints and causes of dispute tend to come back to complaints about the lack of franchisor support. Franchisors say they're providing great support. Franchisees say it's not good enough. Where does the truth lie in that? And I guess, is it because the franchisees have got unrealistic expectations? You can only answer that for yourself. Is your support good enough to deliver on your unifying vision of developing and replicating successful franchisee partners? And if it's not, then it needs to come on the radar screen for some improvement, because the evidence really supports that investing in high caliber franchisee support pays off. I've got another quote here from Greg Nathan that a new high caliber franchisee support manager achieved sales increase in excess of 40% across their region within 12 months. So just lifting that caliber of support can really pay off. So simple system to do that. The first thing that we need to do is to identify the time wasters, and the type of thing that wastes time in field support is using field support guys as messengers instead of ambassadors, having unstructured social calls, and being too compliance focused, maybe inefficiency with travel planning. But the first process is to go out there and go and identify, because every single system that I've worked with to improve their franchisee support systems have had, we've identified quite a lot of time wasters, and it's like they can actually provide better, high quality and more support if we eliminate those time wasters from the process. The next thing is determining the who, what, and when of support, because it's not one size fits all. We must have flexibility built into the system as well. Everybody's not the same, so the same cookie cutter support is not going to work. We have frameworks that are built for flexibility. So new franchisees have go through a certain framework. Established franchisees maybe need a little less frequency, but higher strategic level type support. We've got franchisees that we've perhaps got on ICU because they're struggling. So there's a type of support that's needed there. We've got franchisees that are wanting to exit the system, or that we're wanting to persuade to exit the system. So there's different levels of support need to be built in, so that built-in flexibility. Once we've done that, we design our system. So now I'm calling it a 5-star franchisee support system, because that fits nicely with my 5 magic Fs formula there. Equally, it could be 6-star or it could be 7-star. It really depends how many categories that you identify when you identify your success behaviors. So it could well be, but can I say that 5-star is the absolute minimum? We don't want to have a 3-star system or a 4-star system. So, I don't want you to think it's so rigid that you can't go more than 5, that's all. And so then we need to, very important piece is investing in the support team themselves. Preparing and fueling up the team is critical. There's so little investment in professional development for field support people, and it could be done so much better. I don't know why we think that they can just get on with the job and do it. but there's, that is certainly not the case. It's not the case for any single one of us. So that investment in professional development, have they got the skills? Have they got the capabilities and the attitudes and the skills and the knowledge that they need to deliver really high caliber field support? And if not, then that needs to be invested in, or getting the right people on the bus and the wrong people off the bus, however it works. But the final component there is, and this is generally, I'm involved in a new system or a revamp of a system. So it's launching it and building the excitement, of course, fostering those 3 C's, because you want to get buy-in to the new system straight away. So, not missing out on that component. So this is how we did it at Pack and Send. The support that was provided. First of all, there was an intensive franchisee support manager program. So they completed the program several months ahead of rollout. And all too often, the first time the franchise support team actually experience a program is with their franchisees. So that's not good practice. So well ahead of time. We went through a train the trainer process with their learning and development manager. So the whole plan was like, go in there and we've got this system. I've put the system together, help them roll it out. Then I step away because they become independent and take it on themselves. So that train the trainer was also an important part of providing the ongoing support. There was a coaching skills program for their support managers, because it was recognized that they didn't really have the kind of high level coaching skills that was probably needed for successful implementation. So that was part of it as well. And they actually then acted as coaches in the learning workshop role plays. So they got kind of role play coaching in a real situation, in a role play situation, if that makes sense, which prepared them for then the subsequent real play when they went out and did the coaching. So everybody that participated in a workshop got on the job coaching within 7 days. The rollout was kept small enough to be able to achieve that support goal. And so the aim was to get immediate action. And that was really important too. And then they had ongoing intensive coaching for 3 months. They didn't roll out the second round of workshops until 3 months later. So that was 5. There's an example of supporting a strategy with 5-star support behind it. So really important. Let's move on to our final F now, which is fast track accelerated learning, which of course was part of the Pack and Send program as well. But who has actually experienced challenges in getting franchisee buy-in and action and results with their programs and initiatives? Yeah, it's hard. I know I have. And it's really frustrating as well. Who's invested in training and found that it didn't work, didn't achieve the changes or results that you had hoped for? And again, that's, it's disappointing. It's really quite disappointing when that happens. Here's a few facts. 40% of learners actually fail to transfer what is learned into the workplace. Never leaves the workshop. 70% that do have given up on that within 12 months. So they've gone back to their old habits. It's no longer giving those results. And as a consequence, only 50% of investment in training actually results in business improvement. So that's not very good. We really do need to look at how we handle professional development a lot differently. If I use this as an example, training is what I deliver. Training is what I'm delivering right now. Learning is what you receive. So it becomes your knowledge. Now, if you don't learn anything, then this has been a complete waste of time and resources. But assuming that you do learn something, if that learning is then not put into action in some way, shape, or form, then that's a failure. So we really need to make sure that we're actually getting action out of the learning programs that we put together and design them that way. And I've got this method here that it's called Wickham that is used to achieve real lasting action and lasting behavior change and results. And I'm just going to, last example with Pack and Send, show you how Wickham was applied in their program. So it needs to be seen as worthwhile and relevant and useful. So we built that up from the conference keynote and the early adopter success stories, so that others wanted to participate, that it wasn't something you had to, almost force people and twist their arm into, but it was like they had a waiting list. Well, when can I go on it? When's it going to be my turn? So it needs to be perceived as worthwhile. And of course, the workshops need to be interactive and very engaging. So we made sure that they were lively action learning workshops to build motivation and confidence. And they were really good. I know that because I'm very good at my job. But it was, they were and we got incredible feedback from the actual workshops themselves. They need to be convenient. These people are running a business. So we ran the workshops over a weekend because they're Pack and Send are a Monday to Friday business. So it was easier to make it convenient in their case. But, you got to figure out what will make it convenient. We did a lot of pre-work. We didn't want to waste any valuable workshop time on theories and models and things like that. It was really important that that the workshop was all about skill building. So they came absolutely prepared and implementation ready through a pre-work program. And the program now is also available as virtual as well. The Learning and Development Manager runs it as lunch and learn sessions as well as workshops. So there's a bit more convenience even further gone into it. And then we need to make sure that knowledge actually happens. So, of course, building in knowledge quizzes and live Kahoots, game show type Kahoots activities and learning recap activities, just to ensure that knowledge is actually being transferred during the workshops, and then making sure that we get action. And the action was brought about by the coaching and the reinforcement from the sport team, and real play instead of role play, and then the advanced selling workshops that were rolled out 12 months later to provide more reinforcement. And then the important piece is measurement. So we had a results tracking dashboard to measure the results there. Who'd like to see the results? You're going to see, that you're going to see them anyway, don't you? So I'm going to show you. Here is what in Raj Chandiok's own words. He's the Vice President of Network Sales and Operations globally. And these are his words. And grapevine and engagement. We had a network-wide shift to proactive solution-based selling. We had increased conversion rates and double-digit growth, and franchisees retaining key accounts and building stronger relationships. So pretty happy with that. That was about 2.5 years after the initial rollout was when Raj wrote that for me. But here's something from one of the franchisee participants. All of the feedback was positive, but this one, he's very complimentary about the standard of the training that was provided. But what I like here is I'm very confident that this business-to-business sales system will take my business to the next level. So I had a look at what he's achieved, and in 2023, he won the Brand Ambassador Award, and in 2024, third place in both live sales and multi-center sales growth categories. So obviously things have gone fairly well for Nitin there. So that's the results that it's got. So who's heard knowledge is power? Who's heard that phrase, knowledge is power? I think we've probably all heard that one. I've got news for you. Knowledge isn't power. It's action and implementation is the true source of power. Napoleon once said, if you listen, you'll forget. If you write it down, you might remember, but only when you implement do you truly understand. So what I've shared with you today is the knowledge. That isn't going to give you power. The knowledge of the Magic F system for increasing successful franchisees, sure. The key to replication, that we can all relate to that framework. But raise your hand if you've learned something new today. Has anybody actually learned something new? Hopefully so. Keep it raised if you intend to put something of what you've learned into action. So hopefully there's some action that'll come out of there. And I'd love it if you could pop into chat or anything that you did learn or you want to put into action. But I'm going to also share with you a couple of suggestions for action just before we close. So first of all, that success diagnostic. That is something that that I spoke about earlier, so I won't go through those details again. But I don't just leave it at that. You actually get implementation support as well. So you get a 1 month complimentary membership of the Get Smart Learning Academy and a personal onboarding session. So I can say, out of all the hundreds of videos and courses that are in there, these are the ones that are going to help you with your priorities, which makes it all a lot more efficient. And then at the end of the month or sooner, if you're ready, then we'll go through a coaching and mentoring session and, go through and I'll work with you on your implementation plan. So that's part of the process. I'm offering that to participants of this webinar free of charge. So that's, that's certainly something that you could do if you think that that's going to help. And there's no obligation with any of that. It's just, you just end up with something that's going to help you with your planning. If you want to take it a little bit further, you can buy something. If you actually want a hard copy version of the book, then a good way to get that is probably through the franchise growth bundle, because there's a lot of extra value with that as well. So I charge $97 for that, for which you get the hard copy of the book. And I think that on Amazon at the moment it's 36 or 38. It depends on the exchange rate as to what it actually comes out at, but it's almost a $40 book. But there's also the audio book that you get access to, 2 months membership of the Get Smart Learning Academy, your complimentary success diagnostic again, and 2 coaching sessions and lifetime access to the free resource as well. So that's, if you're interested in taking it further, that's a fairly inexpensive way to get a fair bit of value. Well, finally, if you're just not sure and you just want to have a chat about different options, what my programs look like, because I've got a wide variety of different program options for teams, for individuals, for in various different ways, then you can just take that the opportunity to book in, and this QR code will take you to a boarding pass. You can put your details in, and then we can book a time in my calendar so we can talk about things. So that's 3 suggestions that I've got for action. Got any questions? Has anybody actually got some things that they feel that they want to put in action themselves? Not really.
I think there's a lot of stuff you've gone over, Jen, that we've probably all heard, but it's always timely, isn't it? And the time wasters for me, I took a screenshot of that. So we're in planning mode for the next financial year. I think there's a real good opportunity to really challenge and reset with the team about where our time's gone and where it goes and where it is. And so that's something I'll.
Yeah, fantastic. So let me know when the time comes for that, if you want a bit of help, if you want to go through this success diagnostic process, or just some help with that. Just having some efficient ways of establishing priorities can sometimes help, and another perspective on it. I say this, but Baker's Delight, your learning and development manager back 25 years ago, I can't remember his name. He was so helpful to me when I was just a young, starting out with Snap. It was just amazing. We had several meetings, and it was, and that's what franchising is about. It's about giving and sharing and knowledge sharing with each other. Yep. And that's, I often think about it. So yeah, Baker's Delight are a great brand. Anyway, so it was fabulous meeting you all, and hopefully our paths will cross again in the future at some point. I wish you all the best of luck.
Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jan.
Thanks. I'll talk to you soon.